Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about Kimetsu no Yaiba, the new chapter that was just released on, I believe, August 18th. August 18th on Viz Media by popular demand. A lot of you guys told me to cover it on the Kimetsu no Yaiba comments video, or sorry, the episode 19 video. A lot of you guys mentioned to cover it, and I thought, wow, okay, I guess people really do care a lot about it, so we're doing it. That'll be great. This will be a fun time. So very quickly, house cleaning notes, just as we begin here, just to let you know a few things. I'm planning to upload this video along with a Fire Force episode comparison for not this week's episode, the previous week, episode 5. And I was also hoping to get more videos out today, but the weekend was too busy for me. So unfortunately, it's just Hero Academia, this one, and the Fire Force video. Anyone that's waiting for more videos for any of the other anime, you gotta wait like at least till like tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday. I just don't have enough time to go through everything. Not only that, for the manga fans, I do want to pick up more manga series, although I would be releasing those anywhere between Sundays all the way to Wednesdays, because again, there's just a little bit too much volume and my weekends are a little bit too busy. Anyway, anything else I gotta say before we get into the chapter proper? I'm also fighting the YouTube algorithm right now, so this week I am making, or in the next coming weeks, I'm making a lot of explain videos, effectively stuff that you would find on the wiki. It's those kind of videos. If you guys got any ideas and you want to join my crusade to fight the YouTube algorithm and get the channel stabilized, let me know down below. Any suggestions will be taken. I'll even credit you in the video, give you a shout out. It'll be great. I think when we join forces, we could probably win. Okay, that aside, last thing, Kimetsu no Yaiba, before this moment, I was not reading it as a video maker, so if there are little details that I've missed, let me know down below. Like, make sure you let me know, because for this one, I'm not making notes for the little details, so if I'm missing something big, I'm missing it. So let me know if there's any little details that we miss as we go along into this chapter impression video. Okay, how long has that been? Crap, 2 minutes. You guys are really patient to put up with me for 2 minutes. Anyway, let's begin the chapter proper. Chapter 170, The Immovable Hashira. I'm reading it on Viz Media. If you're reading it around August, if you're seeing this video around August 19th, you can go read it on Viz Media. Let's support Viz as much as we can so that we can keep getting free manga. Anyway, so the first page, a pretty basic page. It's a setup page. I'm really liking this though, because I really want all our groups to join back up together. So I do like a little bit that this is 3 seconds before a miraculous joining of groups, that they're about to come together. I love that the author didn't actually join the groups together. Like, I kind of wish they did, but you know what, keep us in suspense. I really don't mind. 3 seconds isn't that much. I'm happy that they got together. The biggest detail here that I would say is that Kanao's damage is still there in her eye. I thought that was a very nice little detail, and I also like knowing that Zenitsu got separated from the rest of the group. That's really interesting, because I was really hoping, and I forget the guy's name, Yushiro. Oh no, that's his name, Yushiro. I was really hoping to see Yushiro again. So I'm kind of sad that they got separated. Yushiro is one of my... I'm very interested in him, because when you look at the senses groups, like, we have quite a few senses already here. Like, the people with the really high level senses. You know, you have Zenitsu with the hearing. You have Inosuke with his skin. You had Tanjiro with his smell, and you know, in a way you had Genya with taste. I mean, like, it's pretty much digestion and all that, maybe not properly taste sense, but I feel like you could shove him in there. And then you had Kanao now recently with her eyes, although when you consider that, you know, Yushiro is also, man, I really hope I'm getting that kid's name right. He's the one that's always Tamayo. This is another problem. I haven't memorized all the names, not as easily as I have from Hero Academia, but if I mess up a name, just let me know down below. Anyway, Yushiro with his power, he effectively also has the eye sense. So I really hope that going forward we get more Yushiro. Man, I really hope that's his name. Moving to the next page. The next page is good old Mist Boy. Looked up his name, and even then it's still it's still kind of hard for me to pronounce. No wonder I forgot it. We'll just call him the Mist Pillar because I think I'm going to butcher that name, Tokito. But I don't want to butcher it. Anyway, the next page is just a lot of... Well, this is the thing with Kimetsu no Yaiba. It doesn't have as many information dense page as, say, something like Hero Academia or One Piece. These next 2 pages are effectively just the kids struggling to get out of there. Is it a pretty intense scene? Yes, very intense scene. But in terms of information, there's nothing really worthwhile here other than the fact that he got out of his predicament and took the sword out of his body. Unfortunately, those 2 pages were just kind of, they're art pages there to specifically convey struggle. But in terms of something that you can talk about, not really, unless you want to make a point about how determined the kid is. Although when you look at this chapter, and when you look at the rest of Kimetsu no Yaiba, you realize everyone in this series who is at the upper ranks of power is exceedingly determined. And I actually like that whole idea of determination was pointed out later at the end of the chapter when the Rock Pillar was talking about things. We'll get there. Anyway, we go into the next set of pages. I believe it's page 4 and 5 on the Viz Media translation. So this page, what I think would be the very important thing, that being where the Mist Pillar is taking or reflecting on the current situation. There's maybe 2 things that I think are really worth talking about here. First is just the acknowledgement that Uzui had a very good body. It's very fun to point him out because it's Uzui went through a lot and he did a lot despite all the injuries. And then you compare the injuries that he's gotten here and it's I would not have made that comparison. It's always really hard to pin anime physiques and to tell how much someone can take in anime because various manga, various anime have different standards for how much punishment a body can take. As you can see in Kimetsu, some people can take a lot of punishment, Genya being one of the good examples. But then some people, as we can see, seem to have normal limits. Who would have thought? I sure didn't. I mean, in terms of the Hashira. The other point that I found that was really interesting in his little reflection there is that this page did give us a goal for the Hashira. And I do want to talk about this a little bit at the end. But it did talk about how they want to at least be able to lessen the burden on the other people who are alive. So I think that's a really nice idea. It reminds you that the pillars act as a unit. And what I mean by a unit, I mean the victory doesn't really come from an individual standpoint. The victory comes to the group. If one person is able to take it down, the group shares in that victory. And unfortunately, the group also shares in the defeats. So I like that the Hashira are prepared to sacrifice themselves for the group and not just prioritize their individuality. But that's been a very strong aspect of Kimetsu no Yaiba since the very beginning, but it's nice to see it reinforced here. And again, this was being reinforced throughout the chapter. So in terms of the writing for it, I think this was a pretty cool chapter when it talked about how far the pillars are willing to go and how far the demon hunters as a group, as a whole, are willing to go. Next, we move into page 5, which is the page that has Genya asking for him to push his body back together. That was really neat. Now, one of the things that I'm looking at here, and I think it's going to be very interesting, is of course eating the hair of the upper rank demon. That's going to be interesting. What's going to happen there, right? That's exciting. I'm very excited in that. I wish we could have seen the results of that. But that seems really cool. So is Genya gonna go berserk? Is Genya gonna get cut down? Is there gonna be a gigantic difference when Genya eats that? Is Genya gonna activate a mark when he eats that? Right? Is this gonna be the stimulus? I don't know, man. But I'm excited. I didn't think I'd get excited from a kid eating hair. Who would have thought? Here we are. At page 6, we begin the rhetoric about the marked ones, and upper rank 1 begins giving us information about, he starts the exposition. Unfortunately, again, in terms of what we're getting here, we got to talk about panel construction, because, again, the first panel is just the standoff. The second panel is just a close-up with of an observation and calling the guy a marked one. And then, I guess, the start of... not hyping up, but the start of making people feel bad. Because when you look at it, you end off page 6 and the guy's just been saying too bad. He's just making the readers know that there's something weird here. Then he's continuing his observations. Then he goes into, oh, I regret the loss. You still don't find anything. And then by the bottom of page 7 is where you get like the information of, oh, without exceptions, the marked ones die before they reach the age of 25. So between 6 and 7, that's really cool information. And that actually is really good for motivations, I think, as we go into the chapter. This is cool lore. The thing is, like, when they does give you information, like, they act on that information, and that information does have interesting ramifications. Although this one is just putting an expiry date on all the people who have marks. The ones who are interesting, of course, are Tanjiro to consider. But as we find out in the chapter, there may be a possibility of hope there. Anyway, we go into page 8, and we continue the exposition and the explanation of the whole thing that the marks do, with the most important panel, I think, being at the bottom. That being the panel that starts to give you some idea of what this guy was valuing, what upper moon one was valuing. So, with his dialogue, he's like, they will disappear from the world. What the things that you've developed, your body, like your existence will disappear from the world. Do you not think that is lamentable? So I like that rhetoric. I like that this was where Muzan could have attracted this guy. I like that the fear of death, effectively, the fear of death, or even the irony of, because you develop so much is why you're gonna die early. The irony of, because you attain this power, we have to kill you off. I do like that as a motivation. I think that's a very good, in terms of all the motivations that you could have put in there to justify why this guy would have become a demon. I think that's a pretty good one, because when you have these people who live their lives based around combat, it makes sense to me to have something related to combat being the thing that would push them into the dark side, right? I think that's appropriate given the time and given what these people were all about. So I really like that, and this does set us up for the best part of the chapter, that being that the rock pillar largely doesn't care if he's going to die tonight. And this is, again, we were talking about that group identity, and because thankfully this is one of those cases where, because Muzan made the situation so terrible for everyone with all the demons he made, he pretty much made enemies that don't fear death, right? And that's a cool, well, for us, it's cool to see. For villains, it's like, oh shit, can they be tempted? And it's like, no, not really. Not the Hashiras. Not the Hashiras that were indoctrinated by the head of all this, right? They're all dead men walking, effectively. At least I would assume in their minds, they effectively see themselves as dead men walking. So it's really cool. This is a really cool way. This is a part where, in another series you would have had some kind of, villain trying to tempt them into the other side. But here you just have no, you guys don't realize how terrible of a situation you made this for us. We were ready to die every day. So this is actually really cool. It's really cool when the theme about being ready to lay down your life comes back and is actually a strength or a deterrent or a barrier against being tempted. That was a really cool little thing there. I really appreciated that. Now page 10 was just a continuation of the guy trying to seduce the rock pillar over. Sorry, I keep trying to say the guy who's wanting to seduce the guy, but no, wanting to get the rock pillar over to the other side. Again, focusing on body and maintaining techniques. That characterizes the guy while also characterizing the rock pillar, because it's, you're pretty much talking to a rock. The rock's not going to move about this. They've already made their line in the sand. Again, I really like how just the way they live their lives has pretty much steeled them against this guy's possible temptations. Now page 11 is, again, just another page where it's starting up some exposition. The first half of the page does have that excellent line about don't act like your worthless ideas are supreme and force them on others. I thought that was great. That's a really great line. But yeah, we go into the exposition where Rock Pillar tells us that he noticed that the guy said one thing that was a lie. Again, the author was playing around with expectations here. Every other page was kind of getting you kind of interested about what was going to be happening. And then we get what I think is the biggest mystery of this chapter so far, is that when he says, I suspect there was an exception. There was one who had the mark, lived past 25, and is still alive. And then just the confirmation that it shook the guy. Man, that was a pretty cool page. I liked how Silence was able to convey so much. And with just one panel, I got really excited. Like, who is this guy? Who is the guy that bucked the trend? I'm very interested. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, it's like, can't be Tanjiro or anyone in his family because they're all dead, right? And I'm thinking, is it Rengoku's dad? But it's like, no, probably not. So I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, like, when he says the guy is still alive, I wonder, how old is this guy? Are we talking about a guy that's hundreds of years old? Because upper rank 1 is an old person, correct? I don't know. I think I might have to go through again because I know we have the flashbacks. But I think I might have to go through again because I can't think of who this would be. Who would be the one that has the mark and is still alive and is enough to shake the guy? If the guy gets shook. Shaken. If the guy gets shaken, I wonder if it's the man that first attacked Muzan. Although I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to the dates, and I'm not even sure if this guy isn't I initially thought this guy was the one that attacked Muzan. If you guys have this clear in your mind, could you let me know? I thought that this guy was the one that was in the flashbacks, but I may be wrong. Actually, it makes more sense if I'm wrong. Oh man, I'm so curious. If you guys got any theory, let me know down below. Anyway, page 13 is a combat page with only one word of dialogue. Not a worthwhile page to talk about, unfortunately. Page 14, again, more combat. I can't really say much about combat. Page 15 is the Wind Pillar fixing himself up and getting ready to go back into combat. Again, the author likes doing those pages that show struggle. It's showing us how haggard everyone is. You can appreciate that, but at the same time, not much we can talk about there. Page 16, another dialogueless page, except with the little note that the Wind Hashira has developed his mark, and it looks pretty cool. In all honesty, it looks like a pretty cool mark, and it's cool that he's getting it. But like, we already knew this was going to happen. Once one person gets the mark, everyone gets the marks. So we expected this to happen, but it's cool to see it here because now it's like, okay, thank God, another person with some higher stats getting involved in the fight. Then we go into page 17 with the upper rank 1 mentioning that this guy also has a mark, which was also good because when I first read the chapter, I missed that he had the mark. So thank God for the author putting in that little observation panel because I missed it. Man, sometimes authors know what they're doing. Anyway, that was really good. The biggest part of dialogue there that I would say is worthwhile is the guy noting that almost all the Hashira in this time are marked ones, or him questioning it. When I read that he's questioning it, it makes me think that even in his generation, there weren't that many marked ones. That's what I read when I see that, which just goes to show that this generation is a special generation. But we shouldn't be surprised about that. That's a notion that was already being told to us from a very long time ago. From the moment that the head of the Demon Hunters was thinking that in this generation they would bring down Muzan, we could be sure that yes, this was a special generation. Page 18 is more combat with the beginning of the build-up for the page 19 conclusion, that being that the Wind Hashira was able to dodge the ball that was coming directly behind him. That was just set up for the final page where the guy observed that these guys are using different techniques, but they are in total concert, which for readers should be like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Like, it's one of those situations in manga where we have to be told how special it is, because otherwise, would readers know to make that distinction? Like, oh, okay, I get it, author, this is a distinction. They shouldn't be able to fight together here. And because they are able to fight together like this, they might be able to, instead of just being maybe an addition in battle power. Maybe they can multiply battle power. You know, maybe this will make them significantly more of a threat than if they were fighting separately. You know, that's kind of what those kind of observation scenes imply when you're seeing them in manga. So with that final page, suffice to say, that's hype worthy. This chapter, I think, is one of the better chapters. We got a lot of cool information. We got that little drop about there's still someone running around with a mark. That's really cool. I'm really interested in that. I think that's going to be really interesting. I want to see where that goes. But right now, we are still in the pillar battle, and we have the promise of a pretty epic, maybe 2-1-1. I'll be really interested to see how the author is able to do the choreography for two people together. Although the choreography, as you can tell, like for Kimetsu, is pretty good most of the times. So I'm expecting to see some pretty incredible stuff here. We're now going into the discussion proper. Crap, it's already been 20 minutes. Well, I guess we'll try and wrap this up. Before we continue, I just want to show you guys a panel that's from chapter 157. And it's this panel where, well, it was a page where the upper rank 1 was in a room full of pillars, and then you had this panel of the cut down pillars here. And at the time, well, I didn't notice this because, like I said, I wasn't paying like reviewer level attention to these chapters as I was reading them. But thanks to a friend of this channel, Skelly pointed out the symbolism here. Like the guy actually cut down pillars. So Skelly was thinking that the pillars that he cut down were the foreshadowing to how many pillars were going to die in this battle. So, you know, when you look at that panel, I can see 3 cut down pillars that were hanging from overhead. So, you know, as I'm looking at these fights in this chapter, I'm just looking at like, okay, man, like this is kind of scary. Like people are probably gonna die. And when you bring up the fact that the mist pillar wants to at least be able to take down the first guy so that other people can have an easier fight with the whatever remains, I am wondering, like, are these guys gonna go down in a blaze of glory? Is it gonna be the rock pillar? Is it gonna be the wind pillar? Is it gonna be the mist pillar? Is it gonna be these 3 guys who are gonna get wiped out to try and take out this guy? Is this guy gonna be standing? We are still in a very tense situation here, and with that imagery of the guy cutting down pillars, you know, we can play that game like, okay, is this like one of the author's sneaky bits of foreshadowing? Very interested. I'm super interested. Overall, I think this was I think an above average chapter of Kimetsu. I don't have a proper grading scale in my head for these chapters because, as you can see, like the Kimetsu chapters have a lot of, well, this one had a lot of pages without any dialogue in it, and it was just battling, and usually with just battle pages it becomes a little bit harder to talk about. But in terms of a general battle chapter, this was pretty good. Like you had a pretty solid bit here with the characterization for upper rank 1, and you also had that very, very good reaffirmation about what the demon hunters are all about. And I do want to say, like, I really like the irony of just the idea that Muzan made the situation so absolutely terrible that he pretty much tempered people who will not be swayed by the threat of death. Do you know how that's, you pretty much made your own worst enemy. And that is kind of like one of the themes with Muzan. He makes his own worst enemies. But I'm into it, man. I really enjoy it. This is really good. Really cool stuff, man. So let me know what you thought, guys. Oh, what? Sorry, my words. It's kind of late. Let me know what you thought down below. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me. This will probably be the final video on the channel along with the Fire Force and Hero Academia videos for today. And I was uploading this like probably in the middle of the night. Any hoosers, everyone, thanks for watching. At 26 minutes, we're out. Till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.